Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we are going to talk about how to solve a quadratic equation by using the completing square method. So in our previous video, we talked about the factorization method. In this one, we'll be focusing on the completing square method. To use this method, you need to know two things in maths, okay? The first thing is you need to know the formula of a plus b whole square, which is a square plus 2ab plus b square, and you also need to know the formula of a minus b whole square, which is a square minus 2ab plus b square. So you will be using these formulas to solve our question. The next thing that you need to know is if, let's say, x square is equal to 9, so what we usually do is to find x, we usually put square root over here and we get square root of 9, and we find x as x equals to 3 because the square root of 9 is 3. So this is correct, but what we're missing here is when we have something like x square equals to 25, let's say, and when we remove that square and when we put the square root over here, what we need to do is we need to put plus minus over here, okay, in front of the square root, and the answer that we actually get is plus minus 5, and it's not just plus 5, okay? So similarly, in this case, we need to put plus minus over here, and our answer is actually plus minus 3. The reason we need to put the plus minus symbol is, let's say we have x square equals to 4. Then we have our x square over here, right, equals to, we know that the square of plus 2 is 4, right? The square of minus 2 is also 4. We see that the square of minus 2 is minus 2 times minus 2, which is equals to minus minus becomes plus, and we have 2 times 2 is 4. So now we know that the square of plus and minus, both plus minus 2 is 4. And if we remove those two squares, we'll get x is equal to plus minus 2. And that's the reason we need to put this plus minus over here whenever we are removing the square and putting the square root, okay? So this is the second thing that you need to know to solve a quadratic equation by using the completing square method. Now that you know these two things, let's solve some quadratic equations. So we'll start with some easy questions and then we'll gradually move up to the tougher questions, okay? So let's say we have x squared minus 8x plus 12 equals to 0. So we are going to try to solve this by using the completing square method. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to try to bring a plus b whole square or a minus b whole square in our first step. And since there is minus over here, we are going to try to change it into the form of a minus b whole square. And we know that the formula of a minus b whole square is a square minus 2ab plus b square. So how do we do this? Now this first step is very, very important in solving this question by using this method. So I want you to focus a little bit more in our first step, okay? So to change this into the form of a minus b whole square, we need a square minus 2ab plus b square. And we already have our a square over here, which is our x square, right? So let's write that one, x square. We have our minus over here. Now what we need is 2ab, and we have our 8x over here, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to change this 8x into something like 2ab. How? Let's see, okay? Equals to, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that x in front and I'm going to put that 8 over here. I'm going to add 2 over here and I'm going to add another 2 over here, okay? So I'm writing divided by 2 and multiplied by 2. We can do that, right? Now this gives us 2 times x times 8 divided by 2 is 4. And we know that this is also 8x, right? So 2 times 4 times x is 8x. So we can write our 8x as 2 times x times 4. Now what we get by doing this is we have our 2, our a as well. See, we have our a square over here, which is our x, and we have our b. So we have now our 2ab. We already have our a square. Now the remaining thing that we need is our b square. So let's add our b square, okay? So I need our plus b square. In our case, our b is 4, right? So 2ab. So I need plus 4 square. But I can't just write plus 4 square out of nowhere, right? So I'm going to write minus 4 square as well. So plus 4 square minus 4 square gets cancelled. And we also have our plus 12, okay? So let's not forget that one. So plus 12 equals to 0. And finally, our first step is done. So if it's your first time doing this, you might think it's really difficult, but as you practice it, it'll become very, very easy later, okay? So let's continue. Now we can write this part over here as x minus 4 whole square, because this is the formula of a minus b whole square. And that's the main thing that we are trying to achieve in our first step. And then we have our minus 4 square is 16 over here, and then plus 12 equals to 0, right? Or now we have our x minus 4 whole square over here. Minus 16 plus 12 is minus 4 equals to 0. Or x minus 4 whole square equals to, I'm moving this minus 4 over there, so it becomes plus 4. Or now we are going to remove that square from our left hand side, and this is going to be square root of 4, and we know that we need to put plus minus over here. We have already discussed this, right? So we have our or, and we have our x minus 4 over here equals to plus minus, the square root of 4 is 2. Now we have our two symbols over here, right? So we are going to take positive symbol first. So taking positive sign, we get x minus 4 equals to plus 2. This implies x equals to, we have our 2 over here. When that minus 4 goes to the other side, it becomes plus 4. And therefore, we get x equals to 2 plus 4, 6. Similarly, taking negative sign, we have x minus 4 equals to minus 2. This implies x is equal to minus 2. When this minus 4 goes to the other side, it becomes plus 4. And therefore, we have x equals to minus 2 plus 4 is 2. And finally, we have our two values of x, which are 6 and 2. And that's how you can solve a quadratic equation by using the completing square method. Okay, now let's do another one. Let's say we have 9x squared minus 15x plus 6 equals to 0. Now, what's different from our first question in this case is there is a number 9 over here, okay? So in our first question, there was just x square, and we assumed that as our a square. But in this case, we cannot do that. So what we are going to do instead is, we know that 9 is the square of 3, right? So we can write that 9x squared as 3x whole square. And our a in this case is 3x. It's not just x. Now again, we have our minus. So we need 2ab over here, right? So I can write 2. Our e is 3x, okay? You need to remember this. So I'm writing 3x over here. Now 3x times what is 15? You need to know that. 3x times 5 is 15. So we have our 15 over here, right? But I have also added 2 over here. So I need to divide this 2 over here so that when we cancel that, we'll again get our 15x. And now we have our 2ab. So I need now plus b square. Now our b is 5 by 2 over here. So I need to add that over here. So I have 5 by 2 whole square plus b square. I also need to add minus b square because I can't just add 5 by 2 whole square out of nowhere. So I'm adding minus 5 by 2 whole square plus 5 by 2 whole square so that when we cut them, it becomes 0. And we also have our plus 6 over here equals to 0. Or now we have this entire thing in the form of a minus b whole square. So our a in this particular case is 3x and our b is 5 by 2. So we can write that as 3x minus 5 by 2 whole square. I'm just putting the formula of a minus b whole square. Minus, we have our 5 by 2 whole square. The square of 5 is 25. The square of 2 is 4. Plus 6 equals to 0. Now let's just copy this part. So we have 3x minus 5 by 2 whole square. Now moving this 25 by 4 and plus 6 over to the other side. So we have equals to minus 25 by 4 becomes plus 25 by 4. Plus 6 becomes minus 6. Or now we have our 3x minus 5 by 2 whole square over here equals to, now when you have to add and subtract fractions like this, let's say we have a by b minus c. How you subtract this is you multiply this b and c, okay? So we have A minus BC divided by, you put this denominator over here, so we have our B over there. So similarly, in this case, it's going to be 25 minus 6 times 4 is 24 divided by, our denominator is going to be 4. Or again, let's just copy this, equals to, now 25 minus 24 is 1 divided by 4. Or now we are going to remove that square, right? So we have 3x minus 5 by 2 equals to, now whenever we remove the square, we need to put the plus minus symbol over here, and then we put our square root, and we have our 1 by 4 over here. Or now we have our 3x minus 5 by 2 equals to plus minus, the square of 1 is 1, so we can write 1 over here, divided by 4 is the square of 2, so we can write 2 instead of 4. Or we have 3x, I'm moving that minus 5 by 2 over there, so we have plus 5 by 2 plus minus 1 by 2. Or we can write this as 3x equals to 5 plus minus 1 by 2. Or when we move that 3 over there, it goes 5 plus minus 1 divided by, it becomes multiplied with this 2, right? So we have 2 by 3. So we have x equals to 5 plus minus 1 divided by 6. Now we take the positive and negative sign. So taking positive sign, we have x equals to 5 plus 1 by 6, which is equals to 6 by 6, which is equals to 1. And by taking negative sign, we get x equals to 5 minus 1 by 6, which is equal to 4 by 6, which is equal to, you can cut this, right? 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 by 3. And therefore, we have our two values of x, which is 1 and 2 by 3. And done. So this one was a little bit different than our first one. Now let's do a last one, which is a little bit tougher than this one. Let's say we have 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 equals to 0. Now we again have a number 2 in front of our x squared in this question, right? But the problem here is 2 is not a square of any particular number. We can write that as root 2 whole square, but it's just going to make the question more complicated. So we are going to do this question in a little bit different way. So how? Let's see. So we have or. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to remove this 2 from this x square. How? So we can divide this 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 by 2. And we can also divide our 0 divided by 2. So I'm just dividing both sides by 2. Now what we'll get is 2x squared divided by 2 minus 5x divided by 2 plus 3 divided by 2 equals to 0 divided by 2 is 0. And now we can easily cancel these 2 and our 2 disappears. So we have or x squared minus 5 by 2x plus 3 by 2 equals to 0. Now that we have removed our 2, we are going to do the same as we did in our first question. So we have our x squared over here minus, I need 2ab, so I'm putting 2 over here. Our a is x, so we already have our x over here. So let's put that x over there. Dot, we have our 5 by 2. But since I added 2 over here, I also need to add the 2 in the denominator. So I'm adding that 2 over here so that this 2 and that 2 gets cancelled and we get 5 by 2x, okay? Plus, we have our 3 by 2 over here equals to 0. Or, now we have our x squared minus we have our 2ab, okay? 2, our a is x, our b is going to be 5 divided by 2 times 2 is 4, okay? And we need to add our plus b square, which is going to be 5 by 4 whole square. And we need to add minus b square as well, okay? 5 by 4 whole square. And then we have our 3 by 2 over here equals to 0. Or, now this is in the form of a minus b whole square, right? So let's do that. So we have our A as x, our B as 5 by 4. So we have x minus 5 by 4 whole square minus 5 square is 25, 4 square is 16, plus 3 by 2 equals to 0. Now again, I'm going to put the x part over here. So we have x minus 5 by 4 whole square. And I'm going to move our 25 by 16 and 3 by 2 to the other side, okay? So minus 25 by 16 becomes plus 25 by 16, and plus 3 by 2 becomes minus 3 by 2. Or, now to subtract these two fractions, we need to have a common denominator, but there is 2 and there is 16, right? The LCM of 16 and 2 is 16, so we need to make this 2 16. It's already 16 there. We can make this 16 by multiplying this by 8, and we have to multiply our numerator as well with 8. And we get a 3 by 2 as 3 times 8 is 24 divided by 2 times 8 is 16. So we have here x minus 5 by 4 whole square equals to 25 by 16 minus 24 by 16, right? So we can just do that as 25 minus 24 by 16, which is our common denominator. Or we have our again x minus 5 by 4 whole square equals to 25 minus 24 is 1 divided by 16. Or now again we are going to remove our square. So we have x minus 5 by 4 over here equals to, we need to put the plus minus and we put the square root, right? So square root 1 by 16. Or we have x minus 5 by 4 equals to plus minus, the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 16 is 4. Now we are just going to move that minus 5 by 4 to the other side, so it becomes plus 5 by 4. We have our plus minus over here, 1 by 4. Or we have x equals to 5 plus minus 1 by 4. Now again, we need to take the positive and negative sign. So taking positive sign, we have x equals to 5 plus 1 by 4, which is 6 by 4, which is 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4, so 3 by 2. Similarly, taking negative sign, we have x equals to 5 minus 1 by 4, which is equal to 4 by 4, which is equal to 1. And we have our two values of x, which is 3 divided by 2 and 1, and done. This is how you can use the completing square method to solve any quadratic equations. So if you liked our video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for future maths videos. Thank you.